folks, and welcome. And in today's video, we are going to be celebrating one of the greatest engines, in my opinion, ever made.
Now pay attention, because what I'm about to share to you is a quick brief history lesson crash course, and the engine in question is this, a 6 3/4 litre V8, which is the longest serving production engine ever. Spanning a total of 61 years, its codename L Series motor was built to replace its straight 6. Bentley and Rolls-Royce were a joint brand at the time, which meant that this behemoth lump went virtually into every one of its models. It initially started out as a 6.2 litre in 1959, but then in the late 60s it was bought out to the infamously odd 6.75 pushrod V8. Its power output was best described by the automaker as adequate, as Bentley and Rolls didn't want to mention power outputs as it was deemed vulgar, but the engine produced around about 200 horsepower. And that pretty much stayed that way right up until 1982, when Bentley launched the Mulsanne, in which a Garrett turbocharger was added. This gave a 50% performance increase in both horsepower and torque figures. But then in the late 80s came the Turbo R, and this is the most important bit because it was still a luxurious limousine with the sporting credentials following of what the Bentley brand is all about, something which was missed before. Thanks to fuel injection and an upgraded gearbox, the Turbo R now produced 300 horsepower and 500 pounds-feet of torque, with a 0 to 60 time around about 7 seconds and onto a top speed of 140 miles per hour. Not bad for a cathedral on wheels. The Bentley and Rolls-Royce brand were separated just before the turn of the millennium, in which Rolls-Royce was sold to BMW and the Volkswagen Group bought Bentley. But just before that, the joint brand unveiled the Turbo R successor, the Enarge, in which it had a BMW 4.4 litre V8. But that didn't last very long, because as soon as VW was in charge, the return of the mighty pushrod V8 came back, but this time not with one, but 2 turbochargers. The power and torque figures climbed in each iteration update of the Enarge, going from 400 horsepower to 450 and then 500 horsepower. Then its next replacement came along in 2010, which was the Mulsanne, which still had the 6 3/4 litre V8, and that stayed in production for the next 11 years, all the way up till 2021, in which Bentley announced that they will be no longer making the Mulsanne or the 6 3/4 litre V8. But like all Bentleys, you can have a sporty version such as this Mulsanne Speed. It produces 530 horsepower, but this is my favourite bit. It produces 811 pounds-feet of torque, and that's available at 1,750 RPM. Basically, tick over. I mean, Thanos didn't need that much grunt to wipe out half the universe. Those are torque figures that genuinely belong on freight trains, or cruise ships, or even the USS Enterprise. So this is my sort of farewell tribute to the big bruiser Bentley. I've always had a soft spot for this warhorse of an engine and how it's a blend of 70s muscle car while mixed in with very majestic and classy looks. It's not perfect, but that's what I love about it. It's not trying to be. And we'll cut to me driving the Turbo R and telling you what it's like behind the wheel, as well as moving over to the Mulsanne Speed. And this started the whole fiasco of, slapping a turbocharger on this big block, giving this big old barge effortless performance, which then just surged all the way onto the horizon. And yeah, in all honesty, it's an absolute brute of a thing. I suppose for its day it felt very athletic, but today's standards it feels a bit Mopar, I'll be honest with you. It feels very muscle car-y, but bury your right foot and wait for that turbo to kick in and you can hear that thunderous V8. This Turbo R started the whole monstrous torquey V8, in which we then saw into later models like the Enarge and the Mulsanne, which I think we need to hop into that one. In fact, let's hop in the Mulsanne. Before we delve into the Mulsanne Speed, today's video is brought to you by Car Vertical. Car Vertical is the #1 site to check for a vehicle's history when you're looking at purchasing your next used car, especially after seeing this video and you decide to head on to the classifieds for either one of these torque monsters. You can check whether the car in question is written off or stolen, or has any outstanding finance, or even if it has been clocked. This will save you loads of time and money and can avoid you from buying a horrendous example. It's quick, simple and easy to use, and if you want to jump on Car Vertical, make sure you use the discount code SID in the links in the description down below for 10% off. In 2010, Bentley introduced the Mulsanne, the replacement of the Arnage, and later on in life it got given a sportier version, the Speed. This one's the facelift version, and this motor produces 530 horsepower, which sounds plentiful, but the torque it chucks out is, well, it's immense. It's 811 pound-feet of torque, and guess what? It's available at 1750 RPM, basically tick over, which means that when I prod the throttle, this thing just leaps, and you get that nice, dirty, sinister V8 soundtrack that comes along with it. Threading the Mulsanne down a B road, it's not really a ship at sea. It sticks to that traditional fashion of being luxurious yet sporty, and no one does it quite better than Bentley. It's not perfect. There are other limousines that do a better job of ride quality and refinement. What I just love about it is the fact that it just has a charm and personality all of its own. And yes, there's no longer a Mulsanne, and the Flying Spur does that job, and you can see that video. Check that out somewhere at the top. It's a brilliant, brilliant car. But there's just something about this, I can't put my finger on it. There's just something so lovely, and it's a cliche thing to say, British. It's just something so true to the spirit. One day we will look back at this and realise, oh my word, what is this? I mean, these torque figures might not mean much to, say, the likes of EVs, but we're talking about a combustion engine. And the red line's 4,500 RPM, and it's got an 8-speed ZF gearbox. It really only needs 3 gears. But what I love about the Mulsanne is yes, you can thread it down the B road, and yes, it is very enjoyable. But there is a blend of Mopar to it. It almost feels like a Hemi Cuda or a Charger, but with a bit more polishness to it. But at the same time, it's enjoyable to sit in the back in, and in my opinion, it's just that so lovely to drive. It's just one of those cars. It's not perfect, you know, there's a lot of lag from the engine. It's almost diesel-like in the way it sort of responds, but you forgive it, and you just love the way this engine delivers its power. I mean, Bentley wanted it to be a pushrod V8 because of the torque delivery, and it just suits the car so well. It's not too bad. Yeah, it just feels monstrous, absolutely monstrous. And to me, in my eyes, I think it's the best looking iteration of the big proper British Bentley of them all. Everyone's got their own taste, and the Speed version just adds that little bit of sportiness to it. But yeah, this car does remind me a bit like the 7th generation Rolls-Royce Phantom. Yes, there is the 8th generation, and that car is brilliant, but there's just something about the 7th generation of the Phantom, and I think it's the same with the Mulsanne. They took everything that was great about the 6 3/4 litre V8, they gave it some modernness, and this interior, it's not, you know, festooned with tech. Yeah, there are the odd bits here and there, and it is running an older system, but it's not complicating. It just feels easy. You get in it, you put it into drive, and away you go. There's no nonsense, there's no faffing around. It just feels proper. This thing drives is brilliant, and do you know what? If you thread it down a country lane, it don't feel too out of shape. Just be careful in the damp, because there is so much torque on tap. It does
overwhelm the rear tyres, even at slow speeds.
So there you have it, a tribute to the mighty, true British bruiser of a Bentley, and I really enjoyed driving these two. In fact, I want both of them. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe, and until next time folks, see you later.